President Obama wants the wealthiest Americans to pay more in taxes to reduce the nation's massive deficits. At the Rose Garden yesterday, the president unveiled a $3 trillion deficit reduction plan. Half of the savings will come from increased taxes on upper-income Americans, in part by ending the Bush-era tax cuts. The plan also includes nearly $250 billion in cuts to Medicare and $1 trillion in savings from ending the combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan.
We shouldn't balance the budget on the backs of the poor and the middle class. That for us to solve this problem, everybody, including the wealthiest Americans and biggest corporations, have to pay their fair share.
As you can imagine, Republicans already voicing their opposition to the president's plan, some even calling his proposals to tax the rich class warfare. For more this morning, we're joined by Rick Newman. He's the chief business correspondent for U.S. News and World Report. Rick, good morning to you.
Hi, Terrell.
So let's just say, hypothetically, this plan does pass. Who takes the biggest hit?
That's a huge hypothetical. Right. But obviously, he has targeted the wealthy. There's no surprise there. Basically, this is a restoration of the tax cuts, of the tax brackets that were in place before the tax cuts of 2001 and 2003. So that's only for people whose household income is over $250,000.
So critics would say here, possibly, that if you were to tax the wealthiest Americans, you're hurting the people that are creating jobs. What do you think of that? You think that's true?
This is the famous job creators. Don't harm job creators, right? Well, I mean, I think it's a spacious argument. And look, if you look back to the 1990s, again, these are tax brackets, tax rates that were in place for a long time before those tax cuts in 2001 and 2003. And the economy boomed in the 1990s. It was pretty good in the 1980s too, after the Reagan-era tax reform of 1986. So I don't think that argument holds water. But the Republicans, as we know, are opposed to all tax increases, and they probably say we're just taking a stand because we certainly don't want those tax increases to trickle down to the middle class.
So we'll talk again one more time about the president's plan. Your opinion, you think a good idea, bad idea? Does this have a chance of doing anything?
I think it's a starter idea, and I think the reality is when you look at the math, there's no way to solve this problem to reduce the national debt without tax increases. I think Republicans have tried to draw a line in the sand and say we're just not going to do it that way. But if that were the case, the cuts that it would take to Medicare, Social Security, and programs that are extremely popular for the most part would be devastating. I mean, and I mean, we could do it that way. It just seems politically impossible. So I think tax increases are going to happen one way or another. The question is tax increases on whom and when do they happen? Do they happen at the very last minute when we're really in a debt spiral, or can something get done before that? So I'd bet on the last minute.
Who benefits from this? Will somebody be hurt? You know, there's talk about small businesses and other job creators being hurt or affected by this. Do you foresee that happening? That's the butt of the Republican
The whole question for how do we pay it on the debt is who gets the pain. Who pays, basically, is the question. So President Obama has said, here's my plan. This is paired with his Jobs Act that he unveiled a little while ago. And he's saying we want to do short-term spending now to help put people back to work, but we got to pay for that. So it's going to be taxpayers. He also wants to, wealthy taxpayers, he also wants to reduce some deductions on things like mortgage insurance and charitable deductions. I mean, those are deductions that mostly are enjoyed by wealthy people, so they're the ones who would lose it, theoretically. And then there are some other things in here. He's criticized corporate jet owners, so he has some new fees on corporate jet owners. There are a lot of smaller fees in there. He wants to cut Medicare benefits a little bit, but not very much. And we're going to have a big debate over this for the next months and years.
So let's talk about this here. Wall Street, how are they reacting to this?
Well, there are two things in here that target Wall Street. He wants to recoup some of the money that's still out there from the bank bailouts in 2008 and 2009. So that would be a tax on some of the biggest banks, or a fee on them until that money's paid back. And then he also wants the mortgage agencies, Fannie and Freddie, to charge higher fees for what they do, which is guarantee loans. So that would be two things on Wall Street. Wall Street is getting hit over the head every day. It's how they feel. We've got new regulations. You're all over our case. We can't borrow as much money as we used to. We can't invest the way we used to. We got to comply with everything. We don't even know what the new rules are yet, and you're hitting us with another tax. So Wall Street feels aggrieved, but I don't think they're likely to wriggle out from this.
You getting sick of talking about this?
I think Americans are going to get sick of hearing about it before I get sick of talking about it. And I think people are probably saying, why are they still talking about the debt? Didn't we just have this big battle 3 months ago? Unfortunately, that fiasco over the summer only took on a small part of it, and we're going to be hearing about this all through the election, and probably nothing's going to get done during the election season. Probably nothing will actually get done that's significant until 2013. So we're going to be hearing about it.
And we'll keep inviting you back to talk about it. All right, Rick Newman from U.S. News and World Report. Appreciate you joining us this morning.